Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Washington Commanders Training Camp Live here on Fox 5 from Ashburn. We're streaming on Fox Local. I, of course, am Chad Ricardo. Joining me right now, one of the hottest reporters in the DMV and beyond. He is an NFL insider. ESPN Radio is his platform. My man, Lake Lewis Jr. in the building. Lake, I get so excited anytime you join the show, bro.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to be on here with you again.
Well, it is Tuesday, and I feel like if you all are watching at home, Lake and I, we were here in Ashburn on Saturday. We were talking about all of the excitement around Stephon Diggs. Lake, at that point, this place was buzzing.
Yeah.
They had Super Bowl aspirations all abound. A couple days ago, Lake, things kind of changed with that injury to Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
Want to revisit with you your thoughts now compared to Saturday.
I mean, it was a blow for sure. I mean, anytime you lose a player of that caliber, that's going to be a blow. But I also try to remind people, and Chad, you know I'm a positive guy here.
Come on.
The last time they were in the NFC Championship game
Who was
just
the left
2
tackle?
years ago.
Who was the left tackle?
Brandon Coleman.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So Brandon Coleman's back out there, and Brandon Coleman said yesterday he feels really good. He feels comfortable.
Sure.
I mean, he's in his third year, so of course, you know, he's going to play better. He's going to see things a lot differently from 2024. Is he Laramie Tunsil? Absolutely not.
Very few men ever in the history of the game
Absolutely
have been, yes.
one of the best to ever do it. But I think they feel like they have themselves another young, budding star at that position. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
I got to tell you, and myself and Grant Paulson, we were speaking about this ad nauseum on yesterday. Brandon Coleman, you look at him, third-round pick. He's got all of the size. He's got all of the athleticism as well. But, like, what I love about this young man is the character. If you could put somebody on the magazine of what it means to be a Washington Commander in the Commander way, I think that Brandon Coleman is that. He displayed that in 2024 when he was all over the field, displayed that same character last year when things weren't as easy for him as well. So I love Brandon Coleman as a man. What do you like about BC?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, all those sentiments. He's one of those guys. It's rare, you know, that you find a guy that can get demoted, let's call it what it was last year, and still have his head up, and more importantly, still pull for the guy that replaced him.
That's right.
But that goes to show you the culture in the building, but more importantly, it goes to show you Brandon, you know, Coleman's character. And that's the story that you want to pull for. You know, not at the demise of Laramie.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, this was a guy that people did forget. Like we said earlier, he was the guy that was the man at that position when they went somewhere that they hadn't gone in 40 years. And I think for them to get back there, they're going to need him to play even better than he did 2 years ago.
No, he absolutely will. And now with this offense, obviously with the addition of a Stephon Diggs, there's so much potential in this offense. But everyone who knows the game knows that the first thing that you got to do is protect that quarterback.
Yeah.
What is it about Brandon, again, talking about him off of the field, but on the field, what is it that you've seen in him at any point in time that tells you, Lake Lewis, that he can do this job?
So, a little tidbit. A lot of people don't know this, but Brandon was a professional basketball player overseas.
Wow.
Brandon Coleman's got handles, got it all.
Wow.
And I say that to show you that he's uber athletic.
Sure.
He's got great footwork. And I asked DQ yesterday in the presser, was there any thoughts of maybe moving Josh Conerly over?
That's right.
Because Josh Conerly was an All-American at Oregon at left tackle.
At left tackle.
And he's like, no, they want to keep Josh where he is and let him continue to progress and learn that role. And Brandon is the guy over there. That's a forecast of the future.
Sure.
And they feel like obviously Brandon is that guy that can do it. And in order to play left tackle, you have to have great footwork. You got to have great technique, but you have to be athletic.
That's
You
right.
got to get out the block before that edge rusher's coming around. And for them to go with Brandon, not even really a competition at left tackle.
No.
It's Brandon.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know right there.
There was a lot of chatter from the fan base to the point that you're making right now. There's a lot of chatter to the fan base that was saying, hey, you got this retired or free agent left tackle and Decker that's out there. He's got the Lions protocol. That's David Blau. That's Lance Newmark as well. Go get Decker. But at least right now, this organization said, no, we got a guy right here.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a panic move by some of the fans, and I understand.
Yeah.
But if you bring him in, he still has to learn the system.
That's
I
right.
understand that David was there. David Blau was in Detroit. I get all of that stuff. But we're talking about a younger player that knows your system.
That's right.
That had you somewhere that Decker's never been. Sure. I'm just calling it like it is.
Yes.
Last time I looked, he wasn't in a conference championship. Right. So let your young guy see what he can do. And then if you see, they have, 2 preseason games.
Right.
They got a joint practice. So they have enough time. They have 3 preseason games,
sure.
actually. So they have enough time to assess where he is and if he can get the job done. And if he can't, then you go looking. But there's no doubt in my mind that Brandon Coleman's going to be just fine.
Give me a confidence number. 1 through 10, obviously. Confidence number today, and it's early, in Brandon Coleman.
8.
Woo!
Yeah, 8 and ascending.
Yes.
I was going to say a 9. That might be
hard.
That's
hard. 9 is hard.
Because he's got to show it.
That's right.
But an 8. And I just talked to one of his teammates coming off the field, and he was like, "Brandon looked good, man."
That's right.
So again, it's just 2 practices.
Sure.
It hasn't been a lot. But all these guys are interchangeable. They're all guys that if you need to play them at center, maybe they can do that. If you need to play them at guard, they can do that. If you have to play them at tackle, they can do that. And Dan Quinn said that from day one when he got here, that they want interchangeable parts.
Sure.
And this is why you want those interchangeable parts. So if an injury comes up, you can move a guy in there. And the other thing that people are sometimes not understanding is this team finally has what they haven't had the first 2 seasons, depth. And this is a proven example of that.
Yeah. Yep. Arguably the most important word in all of professional sports, but football in particular, that is depth. We'll talk more about that depth on the offensive line, defensive line, and all over this football field. But before we do that, actually want to throw to head coach Dan Quinn. He spoke at the podium this morning. He talked about that offensive line position, also spoke about that wide receiver room. So we're going to take Dan Quinn.
Give you some updates to practice and where we're at. So today we'll be out of pads. Pretty heavy day yesterday for us in that space. Today what you'll see is a lot of red zone work this morning in that space. Usually the things I'm trying to emphasize is like the hyper focus of the communication, the calls, the techniques. It happens so quickly. So I'm looking to see that ramp up today as we're getting into it. And let's get rolling with you guys.
When you have an injury like with Laramie, how much do you address the team about that? Do you how do you go about talking to them about it? Because it's a dominant conversation.
Yes, for sure I addressed it, and I wanted to, especially while it was still fresh. I had said, hey, he's going to be out for a while. The guy's an absolute warrior, and knowing that you want him to acknowledge it and just say that, because obviously, especially the offensive line, this is a tight group. They were definitely feeling it. So, yeah, I'm definitely someone that would rather discuss it and kind of have a conversation first.
You have Nick out now. You have to switch over there. Do you have any concerns about this line coming together in time? And do you have enough depth there? Do you feel to offset?
I do, because I think we entered into it that way, John, to absorb a unfortunate situation such as this. And I hit Brandon yesterday, and I said it's a great feeling knowing that you put so much work into it. You're not called on to do, man, now I've got to do extra. I can do more. And so that's a good feeling that when you put the work in and your moment's called, that you're ready. And if you hadn't put the work in, then it's it's harder. Man, I got to do more. I got to go above. I got to try things I haven't. So he really, threw himself for an outstanding spring and summer. So it's not easy. The communication with him and Chris, they'll work through that. Nick will be back. He'll be out practice tomorrow in the game, but hopefully Sunday is the return to start with him. So that's kind of where we're at. But it's not ideal, but it's not unusual either. This is part of resilience and going through it. And so I would say to your depth question, yeah, because of Brandon, because Andrew, we had people in that space who was going to be 8, 9. It's close,
To stick with Chris and Brandon for a second,
yeah.
Do you look at all at the time they spent at the end of last season, or is that completely irrelevant because it's a totally new offense?
Yeah. I don't think it's irrelevant because there's still, like David, you and I were playing together, the communication, the calls that would go into it together. So I think there's probably over 200 snaps. He played some in Kansas City, in the games in that one. So not irrelevant, but the couple weeks now, I'm glad, into games, into preseason games, into that, the joint practices. So we'll need all the time for sure.
You have two younger linemen now, and you don't have the veteran to kind of get them corrected in real time. So how do they do that in real time now?
Yeah, that's a good one. Without that kind of experience to say, hey, go to this, go to that. And LT had such a good way about him, even in game, Dave, to say, okay, got it, here's the thing. The good news is they do have experience, and starting and playing and going through it. So they'll have to lean on one another into that space. I would say it's probably similar amounts of, games and starts and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of it, it's they're building their time together.
Hey, Dan, with Stefan here now, I know you guys had confidence in the rest of the receivers. Does it change anybody's role for how you want to see them potentially, how you might use them in the regular season?
I think that's a fair question, Ben. It could. I think it's going to depend on what takes place over the next few weeks to see how roles begin to emerge. But yeah, for a player of his caliber, things will shift and move around. That's like part of that. But also, there's a good byproduct of things that he's adding. What can they do? Like adding another veteran receiver to your room. Like they lean on Terry a lot now, having the ability to go through things with Steph. Like that's pretty valuable for Antonio and Luke and Jay in a lot of ways too. So there's definitely a trade-off. But as the roles emerge, I think that'll take the next few weeks to sort itself out.
And just with Traylon Burks and Van Jefferson, kind of what have you seen with them at this point in the camp? And sort of the same thing, like how do things shift for them possibly with the sort of the moves?
Shift part, we're not there yet, but I would say what I have seen from them, I've been pleased. Van is exacting, sits down in the zone, the catch, location. So, man, is that a good feeling for a QB? Okay, the zone, sit down, right spot, right location, get the right yards. Trey, you feel these big catches, whether it's on the sideline, over the middle, the catch radius. I think for him, lighter has been able to go longer and faster. And I think that's been an advantage for him. Then he's in the past been up to over 230, and that size he's just under 220. And I feel that difference in the speed as well. He's still back catching punts and part of that, but he's really competing hard.
Welcome back, and that's Dan Quinn that you're hearing from there. So he talks about Lake Lewis, that offensive lineman room. He talks about that wide receiver room. Now, obviously, we were just talking about Brandon Coleman, but I want to bring this back to those wide receivers. We spent an entire hour on Saturday talking about Stefon Diggs, and it was for damn good reason. He continues to impress. He didn't practice today, but he continues to impress every time we see him out here.
Yeah, I think you can see that Steph has his legs back finally. Last year, even in New England, those 85 receptions that he had would have been number one here in Washington. Sure. But you could still see the burst and the elusiveness, the quickness in and out of the routes. He still wasn't the Steph we had used to be seeing. So now, that's what I'm seeing. He doesn't look like the oldest receiver in that room.
That's right.
At all. He looks like one of the more spry ones. So I think that Commanders fans should be excited because I think you're getting the best version of Steph probably over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Myron Flowers. That's one of, if not Steph's primary trainer from right here in the DMV. Did a ton of crazy work with him. You saw it all over Instagram. But I think that even 2 or 3 months ago, and people don't like to talk about Brandon Ayuk anymore, but in the Brandon Ayuk conversations, when there were Commanders fans that were clamoring over Brandon Ayuk, I think those of us that were in the know said, hey, if this comes down to having a choice between these two guys, this guy is out here working, and this guy is out here getting likes and views on social media.
I mean, I think it's quite apparent that Brandon Ayuk talked himself out of an opportunity. I mean, let's be honest, and this is taking nothing away from Steph Diggs because they got the perfect person for what they need. But part of me feels like that was Brandon's job. Yeah. But you said it. Steph was working out.
That's right.
Myron Flowers. He was putting in the hours, showing teams that, hey, I'm ready. I'm a call away. You get me out there, you're getting a really good receiver.
On day one.
On day one.
Yes.
The other guy, as you said, was on social media, still is on social media, and probably will have to be on social media for the foreseeable future because I think not just here, I think he's hurt himself with 31 other teams.
That's right.
I mean, look, that it is what it is. I mean, you did this to yourself.
Yeah.
And this guy out here is looking really good.
Hey, let's zoom out a moment because, again, all of the conversation about Steph Diggs, and that's for good reason. But obviously now this wide receiver room is now potent. The whole damn room is now potent. When you look at a Steph Diggs with a Terry McLaurin, and we're going to include Chig Okonkwo into this conversation for this purpose here, but when you've got those three weapons, plus a Shad White who can catch the ball out of the backfield, you and I were just talking, Bill can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. How do all of these parts come together for a Jaden Daniels?
Well, the one thing people have to remember with Jaden had a lot of talent at LSU.
Yes.
And he won the Heisman.
That's right.
Spreading the ball around to 2 first-round wide receivers and a third that was really good as well. I think that it's going to open Jaden's game up even more. Not just the whole being under center thing, but the fact that he's got weapons and he doesn't have to feel like I can only go to Terry to bail me out.
Right.
You know, he obviously used to look at Zach Ertz, you know, in the tight end room. But now he's got a tight end. Take nothing away from Zach, because Zach was Mr. Reliable.
That's right.
Always where he needed to be.
You need 6 yards, Zach Ertz is going to get you 7.
He was going to get you 7, but that was probably it. Now you have a guy in Chig who may get you 7 and be able to turn upfield.
That's right.
You know, and that's nothing against Zach. That's just, you know, the nature of at this point in his career.
Listen, Zach was just getting a little long in the tooth. I'm long in the tooth myself. Sometimes I hurt myself getting out of bed.
Get up that hill down there a little longer than it did a couple years back. But yeah, you know, Chig is a guy that can be able to turn around. You know, he's a yak guy.
Yes.
And now you have a guy in Stephon Diggs who always knows how to get open. We've been seeing it here. He just gets open, folks. That's what he does. That's going to open it up for Terry. That's going to open it up for Jaden. Luke has really been playing good football.
That's been the conversation, bro. The
really
conversation has been about Dark Luke. It's like Luke is transforming to the other side right here. He's getting it done. He's got the abs out here. Looks like he's Luke swaggy Luke is what's going down.
Luke put hands on Mikey, you know, a couple days ago too.
Yeah,
so
he did.
That's like, is that Luke? Yeah. So the confidence is there, and he knows he belongs. And we were seeing this last year with Luke. Let's be upfront.
Yeah.
We were seeing a lot of this with him before he got hurt.
That's right.
You know, he was excelling in the kickoff return game
That's right.
before he got hurt. So Luke was already rounding in the shape. Now, having 2 really good alpha receivers that can help elevate Luke's game and get him open, because there's going to be more attention on those guys. Luke might have a big year this year.
We had an opportunity, Fox 5 had an opportunity to speak with Luke during last week, and I asked him just that thing. I said, look, bro, how frustrating was it for you? Because last year it felt like you were coming into your own, catching the ball and returning, and then you get injured. How frustrated was that? And in typical Luke McCaffrey fashion, Luke did not stay on the negative at all. Luke said, you know what that did? That gave me an opportunity to see the game from a different perspective and to appreciate the opportunity that I had to play with this team. We talked about Brandon Coleman. Luke McCaffrey, another guy that you love on the field and you love him just as much off of it.
Absolutely. And you know what, with him, I mean, look who his brother is.
Yeah.
You know, look who his uncles. I hooped against his uncle.
There we go.
You know, way back in the day. I'm not going to say how long, but he was a heck of a basketball player at Duke. I just, you know, he comes from that family. We haven't even mentioned his mom, you know, the gold medalist, you know, so.
Or his dad.
Yeah, or his dad. That's what I'm saying. So you knew, if anything, he was going to be competitive.
That's right.
Because of the family lineage, you know, the tree. And now you see him putting it out there. But when you see a guy like that, I don't want to use the words fight back, but but step to another guy.
That's right.
That's when you know, okay, like,
that's right.
I'm Luke McCaffrey.
I'm Luke McCaffrey. You didn't see the last name on my jersey right here?
Right.
I'm not little brother Luke. I'm Luke.
Right. I'm adding to that family lineage now. Listen, that's 3 receivers. We haven't mentioned Antonio Williams.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
The rookie.
Yeah.
The rookie that everybody's excited about.
Super smooth.
Like, I'm sorry, for 1 second, we've got a Cowboy fan. Our intern is a Cowboy fan, and right now I see him out of the corner of my eye sobbing.
Yeah, he looks worried.
Sobbing at the ideas you mention all of these weapons. The Cowboy fan. Somebody go get an Eagles fan as well, because you should be sobbing too.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I digress. Let's get back to Antonio Williams.
I agree. He looked a little worried over there in the corner.
Yeah, a little tear.
You know, and then De'Ami Brown, who's the deep ball guy.
That's right.
So again, when you get a guy like Steph in here to go with Terry, you got 2 Pro Bowl receivers. It changes everything in the dynamic of your room. You don't have to put all your hopes on some of these other guys.
Yes.
And I think some of these other guys might feel slighted by even a comment like that, because it's like, well, what do you mean? I'm an NFL receiver.
Yes.
And I've done some things in the league. You just have to do them consistently.
That's right.
And now you have a chance to grow. We mentioned on the show the other day, Antonio Williams benefits the most from this.
That's right.
Because he gets a chance to see how it's supposed to be done by 2 really, really, really great receivers.
You can learn from vets.
You learn from vets. You learn from guys that do not take plays off. You will not see Terry or Diggs take plays off.
That's right.
So this kid, the only thing he's going to ever know as far as being an NFL receiver is that every day in practice. You can only go up. That's a good thing. And now with Luke, now with even Jalen Lane, is your specialist.
Sure.
But he's a guy that you might be able to sneak in some packages.
We've seen that he can get in there,
Yeah. So this wide receiver room now, I haven't mentioned Traylon Burks. I haven't mentioned Van Jefferson.
Sure.
Like, there's going to be some odd men out here.
Yes.
I love the kid Jalen Bradley. So, again, a room that looked porous coming into camp. Like, a lot of question marks. You could argue that was going to be the weakest room. Actually, now it might be one of the top 3 position groups on the team.
Now it's looking strong. And to that point, shout out to Traylon Burke, a young man, former first-round draft pick, came in towards the middle of last season, saw him flash a little bit, and out here, now he's even bigger. Looks like he put on muscle mass in the offseason. He's tall. So he offers a different skill set than many of those other wide receivers. He could be a major red zone threat.
Absolutely. We saw that in the Broncos game last year. We had that incredible catch. Those are the type of plays that he's capable of making. He was a first-round draft pick for Tennessee for a reason. For a reason. Now, has it all come to fruition yet? Not necessarily, but Washington's hoping that it comes to that here. He's got every opportunity to be on the roster and be a major contributor because he's a big-body guy, and that's something that they are going to need in that red zone. And they do a lot of red zone, practices, practice plays. So, can he be in that rotation? I think he will be. The big question for me, Chad, not to stray, but we just talked about it the other day. I was like, they're taking 7 receivers.
Sure.
They're carrying 7 receivers, and then Laramie goes down.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it a little harder now if you're that 6th, 7th, 8th receiver that's vying to get that one spot. Someone said, well, that means they're going to get rid of Jalen Lane. Absolutely not. Jalen Lane is a lock.
No, Jalen Lane's a lock.
He's a lock.
Jalen Lane's a lock. Jalen, Luke, those are locks.
Antonio,
on this roster. Yes.
Terry, Steph. That's 5.
Yes.
With Jalen, that's 6.
That's right.
So are they going to keep 7? I think they will, because I think, like I said, Jalen's your 6, but he's technically your specialist. So it comes down to De'Ami Brown, Van Jefferson, Traylon
Burks. Yeah.
I'm going to say right now they're keeping De'Ami Brown.
Right.
To me, he's a lock.
Yeah.
So maybe they go that extra guy. Maybe it's Traylon Burks who's the 7th. I think Van Jefferson might be the guy that is the odd man out right now.
And unfortunately, that is
he had to play today.
It's a part of camp casualties as you go from 90 some odd players all the way down to 53. I want to speak about Chig. I want to double down on Chig a moment here, because Chig, again, he is a player who has always had the potential. And this Washington Commanders organization, though, appears to view him as someone who can be more than the potential that he has shown out there on the field. And when we see him running routes every day, we can see why. I took a video of him the other day, Lake, and posted it on social media. The ball was high, so he wasn't able to catch it. But when he leapt in the air, this is a tight end. When he leapt in the air, it's like he jumped and then paused, like Michael Jeffrey Jordan used to do back in his day. This is a tight end. That type of athleticism, you don't often see it with someone in that position group.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out my comp for Chig.
Come on, man.
It's a combo.
Okay.
It's a combo of Vernon Davis.
Yep.
And a combo of Fred Davis.
Wow.
You remember Fred?
Yes.
Fred was an athletic guy, and Chig is one of those guys that knows spacing.
Yep.
He knows how to position himself underneath. He's definitely going to be a security valve for Jaden. I really like what I've been seeing from him. Have to improve a little in the blocking game, but everybody can't be John Bates,
No.
where they just maul you.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that is definitely as far as the future.
Yes.
He's not just a one-year, guy they're bringing in here. He's not a one-year rental.
No, he's a young guy.
He's a guy that they feel like has some great football, and his best football is ahead of him. He could be a Pro Bowl caliber tight end in this offense.
I totally agree with that. And speaking of Pro Bowl caliber players, you mentioned this young man a little bit earlier on. Josh Conerly has looked good in camp thus far. From what it is that I've seen, he sat down right here. Young man felt so much more mature. He felt so much more secure in himself. I want to get your thoughts on Josh Conerly, but first, I want to throw to Fox 5's Sit Down with Commanders right tackle, Josh Conerly. In training camp, week 2 of camp right now, we got the pads on now. What are the feelings? What are the vibes here?
Well, today specifically, the vibes were high. Pads were thumping, and I feel like there was great competition the whole day. So yeah.
When you look at that competition, obviously now with this offensive line, you've got on the other side of the ball, you got some dudes that you all are competing against every day. How does that help the progression of yourself and the offensive line?
Yeah, for the progression of our offensive line, I feel like it helps us gel quicker and better when you're going against better guys. It's not just like there's nothing easy.
Yeah.
Like no matter pass play, run play, play action. It doesn't matter what it is. Like there's going to be work at all times. And for me personally, with how upgraded we are on the edge, I feel like it's made me better every single day. Working against guys that have a plethora of moves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that will prepare me for when we're seeing everybody that we're going to see during the season. So.
When you look at this offensive line, obviously with yourself and LT as bookends, every good offensive line needs those tackles as bookends. But when you look at the progression of it, bringing back a majority of the line that you all had last year, continuity counts on the offensive line.
Absolutely.
How are you all moving forward as a unit?
Yeah, I feel like every single day we get closer. There's nothing that we hold back from each other. We talk about everything together. We can go to one another for anything, and I feel like that's the best part about it.
Yeah. For yourself personally, right?
Yeah.
And seeing you come around and being a rookie last year, I'm a 44-year-old young man, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So seeing you last year, you felt young, you as you are, but you felt like someone that was coming just out of college. Now you feel like a seasoned veteran out here. Talk to me about your own personal growth and development.
Yeah. Well, I'm still the youngest in the room, so that's crazy. If that's crazy enough for you. But I feel like for my personal growth, I feel like I've gotten a lot better off the field. Taking my dieting a lot more serious. My sleep, making sure I'm taking my vitamins, hydrating properly, so I'm not cramping after practice and stuff like that. So I feel like that's where I've definitely grown a lot and learning from everybody around me as well. So.
I know you're a man of humility and you come out here and you get the job done, but how good can Josh Conerly be?
Be very good. I think I can be very good in this league and be one of the better ones, of course. So yeah.
Of course, one of your primary objectives as that right tackle is to protect Five back there, your quarterback.
All day.
What kind of player is it? Like the fans, they all come to see him. But inside of that locker room, inside of that huddle, what kind of player is Jayden Daniels?
He makes it fun to be out there, and I feel like that's the best thing. It's like you want to do your job for him, and I feel like that's the best part. Obviously unreal player. I feel like everyone's seen that, and when you step on the field, I there's just times where I look up and I'm just like, wow, what a ball. You know what I'm saying? Or it's even if things collapse in the pocket, rolls out, boom, makes something happen, So it's definitely a blessing to be able to block for somebody like that.
Coming into this year, obviously, offensive coordinator change. David Blau, now the man calling the marks. We've spoken with a majority of the wide receivers thus far, a couple of the running backs. They love David Blau's offense thus far.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, I love the offense too. Getting the ball on the ground, and mixing it up in lots of different ways. Letting Five thrive and letting the running back do what they do as well. And he makes it fun for us too. So I think it's been great.
There we go. Looking at just an opportunity to get to know Josh Conerly. Again, second year here in the Washington, D.C. area. What do you think of this region?
Oh, I love the region. Lots of my people everywhere, which I enjoy. I think there's good food, and I go out in town from time to time. Not, I'm out here a lot for the majority of the time, but I feel like during the off season, during like OTAs and stuff, I made it an emphasis to try and like do something in the city at least once every other week or every week. So. Yeah, I definitely enjoy it out here. So yeah.
Rapid fire, your favorite food?
Mom's fried chicken.
I love it. Favorite music?
Rap, R&B, Larry June specifically.
Who?
Larry June.
Who the heck is Larry June?
West Coast.
Okay.
West Coast rapper, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, favorite song, Larry June or otherwise?
Favorite. Get me on the rapid fire. There's a lot of good ones. But I always say let's drive to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Man, you putting me on to stuff because I don't even know who the heck Larry June is.
Yeah,
I'm going to go listen to some Larry June after this. Top 3 favorite movies of all time for Josh Conerly?
Friday, Step Brothers, American Gangster.
Ooh, American Gangster. I love that. That was a good one. It's before your time a little bit.
Yeah,
but that's...
all 3 of them were. All 3 of them. But yeah, no, I'll say those 3.
Okay.
You have a little bit of everything in there, a little comedy, a little action, So.
Get you out of here on this. Obviously, again, right now we're in week 2 of training camp.
Yep.
By the time we get to that first preseason game, where do you hope to see a development of this offensive line unit and as of yourself personally?
Yeah, I feel like just having clear, crisp communication, I feel like it's the biggest thing for us. So once we step on the field, it's just get a play call, boom, line up, run it. You know what I'm saying? Roll people off the ball and protect the quarterback, So.
My man. Thank
Absolutely.
you, brother. Appreciate you. That's Josh Conerly Jr. on the stream with us here on Fox 5. You're watching at Fox Local, Washington Commanders Training Camp live with my co-host, Lake Lewis, ESPN Radio in the building. Lake, we talked about it before we threw to that interview, and everybody just heard it. Josh Conerly Jr. He was impressive last year, but this year he's taking that to a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's Baby Laramie. That's what I call him.
Yeah, wow.
And that's his big bro. He helped him and he's helping develop his game, and you can tell like Josh morphed in something
physically
a different human being. He looks like a grown man now,
That's right.
but he's still a baby technically.
Yes.
He's going to have a huge year this year.
Yes.
I think Josh is literally going to compete for a Pro Bowl spot at that right tackle position. And Washington, again, why would Dan Quinn not move him over? He said it, because he's developing where he is, and he's doing a great job. So, yeah, I think Josh Conerly's in for a big year. And
especially in today's NFL, because for years and years and years, that right tackle position was kind of the forgotten about position. Yeah, stick anybody over there. So long as the quarterback's blind side is protected, we'll take it. Yeah. But the league is shifting now. We saw photojournalist Ed Coker's Chicago Bears just give a bag to a right tackle out there. So the entire game is transitioning, and a player like Josh Conerly Jr. becomes that much more important.
Yeah, you need to have bookends nowadays on the line because the edge rushers are so dynamic, and they're bringing them from all over the place now in these defenses.
Yeah.
So you have to be entrenched on your edges because it establishes what you want to do with your passing game, and it also establishes if you want to pull guys in your run game. So for Josh to still be there, I think, again, it goes to show you his athleticism.
Yeah.
And you're right. In the past, it used to be if they put you at right tackle because you weren't athletic enough to play left tackle. But now you have to think there's a couple left-handed quarterbacks in the league, which the right tackle would be more important for them than the left tackle. Just down there in Atlanta, they have 2 left-handed quarterbacks. You have to see if they can get on the field because they're always injured. But yeah, if you're a right tackle in Atlanta, you might get paid if you can protect Tua and you can protect Michael Penix. So again, Josh Conerly, he's entrenched at that spot, and you're going to see him there for a long time.
So undoubtedly, the arrow is going up on Josh Conerly Jr., former first-round draft pick. You don't. That is what you hope for. That's what you expect, and he's stepping into that space. We talked about Brandon Coleman, the arrow going up there. What about the rest of the offensive line? We saw Chris Paul develop into something last year. We know Sam Cosmi is back. He's healthy,
Got his legs
presumably. Nick Allegretti. What do you think of the interior of that offensive line?
I mean, naturally, I think the only question mark is it's going to be the center spot. It's going to be, is Nick healthy enough to come back, obviously, at the calf pull? Can he come back and man the position? Because they're banking on him to be able to do that. You don't want to put a lot on Matt Golban yet, you know, the rookie from Michigan State.
Yes.
And then, obviously, Julian Good-Jones. You know, he's another guy, big body, that can do it. I just talked to the big man, Trent Scott. You know, he's a guy that can play some center.
Yes, he can.
Yeah, but you don't want that.
No.
You want that to be Nick Allegretti, and that's why they're not rushing him back out here.
Sure.
I mean, a calf injury for a guy that has to squat.
Of that size.
Yeah, of that
That's
size.
right. Yeah.
You want to make sure that he's healthy and good to go. So to me, that's the only question mark. You know, some depth. You know, obviously Andrew Wiley is still there.
Yes.
Trent Scott, who we just talked about, Julian Good-Jones. So you have some of these guys that can provide you some depth. But you just hope you don't have to go there again, because now they're testing that depth right now at the left tackle spot with Brandon Coleman because of Laramie being out.
That's right.
I think the offensive line is going to be good. I think that's still one of their strengths.
You talk about tests. This Washington Commanders team is going to get one of their first major tests on tomorrow. They've been hitting each other now, like, for 2.5 weeks. Tomorrow they get to hit somebody else as the Miami Dolphins come into town for a joint practice. To some of the fans out there, like, they don't necessarily understand how important joint practices are.
Yeah.
Why are they important?
I mean, you get a chance to work on the things that you don't do well in joint practices. You're not going to see a whole lot of their, you know, everything that they do at an A+ level.
Yes.
You won't see a lot of that. So, you know, Dan Quinn's going to talk to Halfley. They're going to talk. They're going to find Halfley. They're going to find out what is it that you need work on.
That's right.
On both sides of the ball, and that's where the focus will be. So when you start to see from some of the fans, and we're saying this to you, you know, respectfully,
yes.
When you see some of the fans say, oh, they didn't look good, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, that's intentional, folks.
Right.
They're not supposed to look good at certain things because those are the things that they don't do best. That's what they're going to work on.
Fox 5 had an opportunity moments ago to speak with a few of the commanders, whether it was Andrew Wiley, whether it was Kane Madrano, etc., and just talk to them about how important this is. And one of the common themes was how the intensity is going to ratchet up tomorrow. Again, we've seen that. Came out here initially week 1, no pads, just the helmets. Week 2, once the pads came on, you saw things rise up. Now tomorrow, they get to hit somebody else that they're not sitting beside in their lockers.
So just last week, you know, Trent Scott, who comes on my show with me on ESPN Radio, had him walk out. He walked out when I was doing my stand-up. He came down, and we were talking about this joint practice that was coming up in a couple of days, and I asked him, I said, listen, you can be up front. We're going to see some skirmishes, some scuffles, aren't we? And he said, well, I won't say that, but let's just say this. It's going to be good to lay hands on other people. He didn't say put hands. He said lay hands on somebody else. It's going to be some skirmishes because now you're going up against someone else.
That's right.
It's hot out here.
It's hot out here,
bro. I mean, when you're hot and you're frustrated and now you got someone else, you have someone else that you've never gone up against leaning on you. Yeah, I expect to see some tomorrow.
It'll be our first chance to see Jaden Daniels in a position in which he is playing another team in this new David Blau offense. We know that one of the big things of this offense, Jaden's going to be under center as opposed to in that shotgun. Yeah. What do you want to see from Jaden Daniels in the limited time that he'll be on the field tomorrow?
Quick reads. You know, I want to see him, you know, obviously get rid of the ball quickly, but go through your progressions too if you need be. I don't want to see a whole lot of running. We know that he's one of the more dynamic runners in the league at the position. But I want to see him, you know, hitting Stephon Diggs. I want to see him hitting Terry because these joint practices when you do see some of your first-team guys.
Come on.
And obviously they didn't, I keep saying obviously here, but I know that they didn't participate in practice today.
Yes, correct.
There's a reason for that.
That's right.
That's for tomorrow. So, yeah, I want to see him spread the ball around, but I also, again, want to see him go through his progressions and make those quick, precise throws from under center, you know, in the pocket. If the play, you know, extends out to 4 or 5 seconds, you know, that would have been a sack.
Sure.
So we don't want to see a lot of that. We just want to see 2 seconds, boom, he knows where he's supposed to go. And then I want to see the receivers get open for him to be able to get him the ball.
That's right. One of the more intriguing position battles, if there is one here in the Commanders this training camp, is at that running back position. You got Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill. This was a fan favorite. The entire burgundy and gold community fell in love with Bill last season, and it's for damn good reason. This year, though, you got Rashad White. And Rashad White looks good out there.
He does. He really does.
Bill looks great. Bill's put on some bulk. He's more muscular. Looks like he's probably prepared to do better in pass protection, which was one of the warts that he may or may not have had last season. How do you see that playing out as of right now?
I look at it as a two-headed monster.
Yeah.
I think they've got a really nice tandem that complements each other. For everything Bill can do, Rashad can do some other things. For everything Rashad can do, Bill can do some other things. I think the thing that'll separate them is everyone talks about Bill's speed and the burst.
Yes.
Bill's a violent runner in between the tackles.
That's right.
He's more, if you ask me, he's more of a threat taking one to the house, not from going around the edge,
That's right.
but from taking it
Finding
up into
that
the middle.
crease, brother.
Absolutely.
That's finding that crease.
And then you look at Rashad. Rashad is one of the better backs in the league as far as catching the ball
Yes.
out the backfield. When you look at him, he looks like a wide receiver.
That's right.
He's a tall guy. He's got some size on him. I think these two guys could be a revelation for Washington's offense, especially with Jayden being under center. They're going to run the ball a lot more. They're going to get the ball to their backs, but now that Bill has shown that he can catch the ball out the backfield, you can have both those backs on the field at the same time, and you can spread them both out. You don't know what that's going to do to defenses, and then you still have these receivers you got to deal with too.
This is an opportunity for Bill because, again, much of the talk when you heard from former offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury last year, when Bill kind of jumped up on the scene, you would hear Cliff kind of say, "Okay, let's tone it down for a minute," because it was almost as though Bill could run the ball amazingly. That's what he's been doing his whole entire life. But it was the little things. It was the blocking out of the backfield. It was the receiving, being a receiver out of the backfield, that those were places that he needed to improve on. If Bill has been able to improve there, you could be looking at the next big deal from the running back position.
I agree with you 100%, Chad. I think that he is he in the Jahmyr Gibbs and obviously Bijan Robinson category? No, he's not. No, we're not going to even say that. But are we saying that he could never be there? No, I'm not saying that either. And you're right. If he can elevate his game and pick up the little nuances that were costing him some playing time last year, albeit it's a different system. It's a system that's more tailored for his skill set because they are going to run a lot between the tackles.
Correct.
As opposed to bubble screens and toss sweeps and things like that. You're going to see him be able to utilize and show what he can do. The other thing is he got a lot bigger. He's another guy. We talked about.
Looks impressive.
Yeah, he talked about Josh Conerly and how he changed his body. Yeah. Bill looks like a different human being as well. His thighs, the glutes.
That's right.
You can tell he worked on all those things with the possibility of being able to tote the rock and have a lot more touches than he did last year. I mean, the guy got over 800 yards last year in limited playing time.
Spot duty.
Duty. So you would think, well, someone did tell me actually, well, Rashad's going to cut into his touches. Not necessarily at all. It just means that those touches are going to be more dynamic now. So maybe he can have more yards.
No, I love that. That's essentially the offensive side of the ball. I think that we covered all of it 2 weeks ago, maybe even 10 days ago, Lake. All of the conversation from the fans was about how great this defense looked. They're flying around. They've got all of the additions over there. Just moments ago, Fox 5, we had an opportunity to speak with one of the individuals that has been here for quite some time. It was Daron Payne. Fox 5's conversation with Daron Payne right here. From the outside, because obviously I've never been in the position that you're in, but from the outside, you hear from veterans such as yourself, some prefer a more relaxed training camp. It's hot as hell out here, but others want that grind and think that makes it better. Where is the balance for you? What do you love the most?
Man, I like going out there every day and just trying to get my skills together. And camp is supposed to be hard, so there's no easy way out of it. You got to go through it. You got to hit. You got to put that heat on you just so when the season comes, you can play fast and be injury free.
You talk about this offense, and I think that myself and everybody else has seen the same thing. So much movement, so many multiple sets and formations that are out there. What do you see in the offense this year that gives you confidence that they're going to be able to take things to the next level?
Just the players, first of all, foremost, I feel like they're real bought into the system. And we got some good players, Terry, and some good guys on the O-line, and of course Jaden. So I feel like they're gonna handle that. And then just the system itself, like it gives the defense a lot to look at.
Come on.
And it makes you reconsider some things and kind of get you kind of messed up a little bit. So I know it'll be fun for D coordinators to try to dissect.
100%. Prior to 3 or 4 days ago, though, as with the addition of Stephon Diggs, prior to that, all of the talk amongst these fans was about your side of the ball, about this defensive unit and everything that you all were adding. How do you feel early? How do you feel about this defensive unit?
Man, we got a bunch of new guys, new faces on the defense. I feel like our edges are amazing. They set good edges and get after the quarterback. We got some big bodies on the D-line at D tackle position. Got Sonny in the middle, man. He looks amazing. The way he moves around on the field, man. It's going to be fun to watch him just grow into the linebacker he is.
It feels like, especially in you all's D-line group, that you all have more quality depth than maybe you've had in the last few years. I wonder, am I reading that right? But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like we got a bunch of guys that can play like right now. So got Tim, Shy, all those guys, bro. And I feel like we got a good rotation going right now, and everybody rolling, everybody fresh. So.
Yeah. And coming up tomorrow, obviously, you know, we've been out here, 90-degree weather, banging burgundy on gold out here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you got the opportunity to have another team coming to town.
Yeah.
How does the intensity ratchet up when you're facing somebody else?
For me, really, it's just I'm gonna be happy to see like other teams like. Just like the formations they get in and all the different situations they can put us in practice, just so I can try to steal some game reps before the season starts, you know?
Yeah. No wins and losses at the end of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to go down in the record books. But what do you hope to see from your unit? What do you hope to see from the Commanders tomorrow in this practice?
Just like we've been focusing on all camp, everybody being on the same page, just taking it further than knowing your assignment, but knowing like what the down and distance is, what the situation is, so that we can play faster and be better. So stuff like that.
For you personally, obviously, like you are burgundy and gold at this point. All of these fans back here, they know who you are. They know you. They love you as well. What is this community? What is this organization? What has it meant to you?
Oh man, it's meant much to me. I've spent my whole career here. Played a lot of football here, so it's been fun being able to just see things grow and see all the different changes they made. So everything, I know you probably remember how things used to be here.
Come on.
During the Redskins, but just seeing how everything's grown, it's just amazing to see.
Preseason right now got a long ways to go, but what goals have you set for yourself this year? What do you hope to accomplish?
Probably just being more of a vocal leader. That's a main goal, and then always just be disruptive and just try to leave my mark on every game.
Final question for you. Looking out 3-4 months from now, from where this team is right now, where do you hope to see the Washington Commanders ending this season?
Man, I hope we in the top category for a lot of things like defense and stopping the run and, you know, running the ball. Like I want to be in those top categories. So that's what I hope.
There we go.
Yes,
D, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. That's what's sitting down with Commanders defensive tackle Daron Payne. I got to tell you what. Now, a little media inside. Us around these parts, we know that Daron Payne, nice man, but not always the most talkative. He was comfortable, he was social, he was conversational. Truly enjoyed our sit down with Daron Payne.
Yeah, kudos to you, because you know, no, I mean that sincerely. Daron's my guy, that's my guy. But no, kudos to you because you're right. Like, I know the magic potion to get Daron to like talk a lot, and he won't get quiet about it.
Right.
And it's about those cars that he has, because he's got cars that most humans can't afford.
There we go. There we go.
And they're gas as well, electric.
Yes.
So, not gas, but they're electric. So, yeah, for you to do that, that's your testament right there.
He's a good brother. We'll give credit to photojournalist Ed Coker as well. Certainly no credit to the intern, the Dallas Cowboys fan. But when you look at it, Daron Payne, you look at this defense as a total. This is a big year for them, but this is an especially big year for Daron Payne.
It is. It seems like we have that sentiment like every year about Daron. That it's going to be a big year. It's a contract year. It's going to be a big year. Listen, he's entrenched here. He's been here for a long time. And in fairness to Daron, and I'm sure he would love me saying this, he hasn't always had the best coaching.
Sure.
For what he could have possibly been, coming out of Alabama. Daronte Jones is going to bring the best out of this guy, and I think he's going to have a big year as well. And you're going to see why a lot of people, not just in Washington but outside of Washington, have always been high on him. He's got a high motor. He's a guy that can move around. He's got some strength. He just needed the proper tutelage. And I think now, what is this, year 7 for him?
Sure.
You're going to see that come to fruition for this guy.
Not only does he have that tutelage, not only does he have a Daronte as his coach, as DC out there, but they've also got depth along this line this season. That's one of the things that you just heard Daron speak to. How important is that depth?
It's extremely important, because you can keep these coming in waves. And the type of aggressive defense that Daronte wants to employ, you need fresh bodies. You need guys that can come out, take a break for a couple plays, go back in, and they're probably 3 deep on that defensive line.
Right.
And I mean legit. You heard Dan Quinn mention Tuttle yesterday. That's a guy most fans will not think has a chance to make this roster.
Wow.
Don't be surprised.
There we go.
So there you have it. You have another guy. You have Johnny Newton.
Yes.
And these are just guys in the trenches. Javon Kinlaw.
That's
in
right.
the trenches. We obviously talked about the edge rushers and all those guys. There's a lot of players on the defensive front that I think, and they're all interchangeable too. Daron can actually move to the outside.
That's right.
I got a call, a couple of weeks back, when I said that. So I got to be careful about giving sets and things like that.
Right.
But the cat's out the bag.
Sure.
Daronte's going to move these guys around. But Daron's one of those guys that will benefit from that, because he can play every position on that front.
Speaking about this front 7, when you want to talk about the stronger position groups that this Commanders team has, that linebacking core has got to be one of the strongest rooms, has the potential to be absolutely dangerous. What do you see there? Louvu, Chenal, Sonny Styles is supplanted, but what do you see there with everyone else?
This was a room that had a lot of people worried before Pittsburgh.
Come on.
And then in Pittsburgh, when they were able to, and I say able to because I didn't see it coming. I didn't think, Sonny Styles would be there for them when they picked. For him to be there for them and they select him, immediately it galvanizes the room and makes the room better. And then, of course, the big elephant in the room was, what were they going to do with Bobby Wagner? Would they bring him back? Well, I think they see enough in number 52 right now, number 4, and Frankie Louvu, and then, of course, and it's Leo Chanel. And I want people to understand that.
There we go.
It's spelled Chanel.
Yeah.
You're a fashion guy, and I know you know what Chanel is.
That's right.
So it's Leo Chanel. Listen, immediately this linebacker room now is one of their strengths.
Yes.
We talked about that wide receiver room and how we thought that could be porous. A lot of people thought that about this linebacker room. No, this linebacker room, when it's all said and done, could be the strength of this football team. They're that dynamic. They're that athletic. They have length. They have youth now. They have speed. And more importantly, they've got the proper coaching to bring out the best in these guys. They're going to be flying around.
Love everything that we're seeing right now on the defensive side of the ball, that offensive side of the ball as well. One of the remaining question marks is that defensive secondary, especially if Trey Amos is still struggling to get back from injury. What do you see? I love the safety group. Got some pieces at cornerback. Can this all come together?
I think it will. And again, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic all the time, but they should have, their front 7 should supply a pass rush.
Pass rush. Cornerback's best friend.
Yeah, when you get a pass rush, I mean, you could put your intern back there and he might catch some passes.
I don't know if he's a Cowboy fan. Yeah.
Yeah, but your corners benefit when they have a pass rush in front of them. When you have to cover NFL receivers for 4 seconds, that's not happening.
That's right.
You heard Daron say today in his presser with us that certain drills are set up for the receivers to win those battles.
Sure.
Guess what? In practice, they're running around for 4 or 5 seconds.
That's right.
D-backs aren't going to cover those guys. So you get a pass rush and you shave that down to 2 seconds to have to make a play, you might have more turnovers created. So yes, I'm sold on the safeties. I think the safeties have depth, and I think that Jeremy Reeves and Nick Cross, you heard it here first, Jeremy Reeves will be starting with Nick Cross back there.
Wow.
I like what I see.
That's a bold prediction, Lake Lewis.
Yeah, that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that. But those corners, you're going to need Mikey to step it up a little bit. Mikey's kind of been struggling just a tad in practice.
Sure.
He makes some plays and then gives up some plays. You're going to need him to step it up because we don't know about Trey. Just, missed practice today, and I don't think he's going to be out there tomorrow or even in the game on Friday.
Sure.
They need him to come back.
Need him to be back.
Yeah.
All right. Final question for you, Lake Lewis. We have broken down the offense, broken down the defense, heard from those Commanders players. Tomorrow, this joint practice is going down. Fox 5 will bring you the latest after it's over. What do you need to see from this Commanders team as the Dolphins come to town?
I want to see some aggression. I do. I want to see them not get pushed around. I want to see them dictate on both sides of the ball what they're going to do. We saw too many times last year the defense was always on their heels.
Come on.
Well, now I want to see Daron Jones' defense going up against people who don't know anything about what he's going to do. Obviously, in these practices, the offense are familiar with what they're doing because they're in the same rooms with each other. So the Dolphins don't know that. So I want to see the defense be the aggressor, be dominant. On offense, again, I want to see Jaden find his receivers. I want to see the running game. And I want to see the offensive line hold up now with no Laramie Tunsil.
That is the latest with my main man, Lake Lewis. Again, NFL Insider. You can catch his show on ESPN. He is the host. Lake, thank you so very much for dropping by Washington Commanders Training Camp Live on Fox 5. Fox Local is the place that you're watching it. I tell you all what, if you've been entertained by this, my main man, Guy Lambert, and Live Zone is coming up for you next. From Ashburn, I'm Chad Ricardo. We'll see you soon.